My name is Igor Dorfmann Lazarev. I am a researcher at the University of Aix-en-Provence in France, where I teach Armenian language and history. The focus of my research is on the religious history of Armenia and its neighbors in the Middle Ages. I am also interested in the interaction of religions across pre-modern Anatolia and the Caucasus more widely. I analyze exchanges between Jews, Christians, Muslims, and Yazidis, for example, pilgrimage to Shed shrines, the work of translators, and the shaping of new literary languages, contacts between diverse Christianities, including missions, correspondence, theological debates, synods, sectarian movements, for example, Paulicians, and their offshoot, Bogomils, instances of religious syncretism, for example, amongst Kurds and Christians in former Caucasian Albania, and hybridization, for example, the formation of what half a century ago the American Islamologist Marshall Hodgson termed as Islamic societies. Reciprocal influences between different traditions of religious art, cultural blending in apocrypha and in mythology. Over the last 10 years, the transmission of apocryphal and pseudepigraphal sources in Syria, South Caucasus, and the Black Sea region has been in the center of my attention. Such sources give us access to the non-institutional sphere of cultural expression. Apocrypha originally mean texts hidden or concealed. These texts were either hidden because they contained or were considered to contain a secret revelation, or they were concealed from ecclesiastical authorities which disapproved of their flock reading them. Apocryphal traditions often survive not in the original languages, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, but in various translations. A number of texts of primary importance have been discovered only recently. Many such texts were destroyed because they were deemed to be false. Other texts, however, were never condemned by ecclesiastical authorities, but were merely disregarded in the process of shaping the official doctrines of the respective churches. In the East, biblical codices often include various texts which in the West were rejected and forgotten. In this way, they have preserved for us numerous apocrypha. In the midst of different textual communities, a unique constellation of apocryphal traditions participated in the formation of a distinct symbolic worldview and collective self-understanding. While the conditions for the survival of apocryphal texts were often unfavorable, many such texts, either of those rejected or disregarded, enjoyed high popularity for centuries. The local revisions of these texts make of them a real window into the lived religion of various Christianities of the Near East and of their contacts with non-Christians. Apocrypha enable us to conduct diachronic research on the history of mentalities, encompassing very lengthy periods and crossing confessional and denominational borders. The presence of apocryphal motifs in the intellectual world of various Oriental Christianities enabled them to elaborate original explanations to the pre-Christian polytheist religions of the Near East, on the one hand, and on the other, to the rise of Islam. Apocryphal themes were also present in the spiritual world of the Muslims. Indeed, numerous ancient apocrypha of both Jewish and Christian origin underpin the Quran. Apocryphal traditions thus allowed Christians and Muslims to have a shared mental world inhabited by common holy figures. This even made possible a certain degree of reciprocal recognition between the Christians and the Muslims, allowing for a durable coexistence of the two religions. Various apocryphal themes are reflected on the walls of the church built at the beginning of the 10th century by the Armenian king Gagik Artsruni on the island of Akhtamar in Lake Van. Various representations of biblical figures occurring there were directed not only at Christians but also at the Muslim travelers who visited various churches of the area and who even spent protracted periods in company of monks. Apocrypha also contributed to the phenomenon of religious syncretism, which I shall study this year at Koch. We observe such a syncretism, for example, in the 12th century Persian poet from Ganja, Nizam ad-Din Abu Ala Ganjevi, a court poet and a Nadim, a drinking companion of the Shahs of Sharvan, later Shirvan, on the Pre-Caspian plain, lying southeast of Ganja. In one of his poems, Abu Ala swears by David's lamentations, Noah's groans, Job's calamities, John the Baptist's purity, the reverence accorded to the gospel, the homages paid to the Torah, and, very importantly, the mystery of Abraham's scrolls, side by side with the honors reserved to the Muslim holy places. He thus mentions various apocryphal texts such as Abraham's scrolls and apocryphal themes such as Noah's groans. Nevertheless, while acknowledging Jewish and Christian writings and their heroes, Abu Ala specifies that he abstains from visiting Christian shrines. In this way, he indirectly admits that his Muslim contemporaries did visit them. About the Muslims visiting Christian sanctuaries and other numerous forms of syncretism, we learn from an Armenian writer who also came from Ganzak in Armenian, and was active in the first half of the 12th century, David of Ganzak. At that time, Ganzak and the Middle Kur Valley was still dominated by the Kurds. While nominally Muslim, the Kurdish population of the Kur Valley maintained syncretic religious practices. Settling there since the middle of the 10th century, the Kurds had absorbed into their midst numerous Albanians and Albanian Armenians, inheriting from them rudiments of Christian rites, pious practices, and superstitions. The Kurds in David's time thus were not perceived by the Armenians as an utterly foreign population. This facilitated the intermingling of the two societies in various spheres. From David, we hear that Kurds occasionally attended churches, attempting to participate in Christian sacraments as propitiatory rites, and to possess Christian sacramental symbols as apotropaic objects. On the other hand, we gather that syncretism also affected Armenians. Some of his flock used to swear by associating Christ with Muhammad in their oaths. The symbiosis of the two societies to which David gives voice was but the first stage in the process of Islamization. The landscape of the Eastern Caucasus and Asia Minor would thus be gradually transformed. Thank you.